Hello and welcome to Jazz Improv with Mr. P-Fan. For Lesson 3, we'll be talking about scales used for jazz improvisation. There are three main types of chords that you will see most often in jazz music, and that's the major chords, dominant chords, and minor chords. So in this lesson, we'll be talking about some different scales that you can use when you see one of those chords appear in your music. You'll see under major, there are two scales we'll be talking about, which is Lydian and major scale. Under the dominant chords, we'll be talking about a Mixolydian scale. And under minor chords, we'll be talking about a Dorian scale. Take a moment right now to look at your instrument group and make sure that you know which group you will be in for the rest of this lesson. First, we'll talk about major 7 chords. So a major 7 chord is 1, 3, 5, and 7 of the major scale. If I play a B-flat major 7 chord, it sounds like this. Now, when I play that major 7 chord, there are two main scales that people will use to solo over that chord. The first one is Lydian. The Lydian scale is a major scale with a sharped fourth. And if you take a look at your group, you'll see a concert B-flat scale written out, and you'll notice that the fourth note is circled in purple to indicate that it is going to be changed. It is going to be raised up a half step. So take a look at your scale and let's play it up and down in half notes. Here we go. Concert B-flat Lydian scale. 1, 2, ready, and... You'll notice that in white along your scale is the chord that is outlined. The first note, the third note, the fifth note, and the seventh note is all inside of the Lydian scale. So that's why it works. The next scale that goes along with major 7 chords is the major scale. Everyone's familiar with this one, so I don't need to play it along with you right now. So either one of those chords will work when seeing a major chord. The next type of scale is what goes along with dominant 7th chords. So when you see a concert B-flat 7, that indicates dominant. And you'll see the Mixolydian scale also lines up with the chord inside of it. The Mixolydian scale is just like a major scale, but it has a flatted 7th degree, just like the dominant 7th chord is 1, 3, 5, and flat 7. Let's play a Mixolydian scale. 1, 2, ready, and... Next, we have a Dorian scale. Dorian is the scale that you use over minor 7th chords. So a minor 7th chord is 1, flat 3, 5, and flat 7. And you will also see in the scale formula at the top that flat 3 and flat 7 are also represented in the Dorian scale, which is why it works. Let's play a concert B-flat Dorian scale. 1, 2, ready, and... Just to give you a little bit of background of where some of these scales originated from, there is a topic in music theory called modes. And listed on this page, I have the modes of the major scale. Now, what I mean by the modes of a major scale is this. Take, for example, a C major scale. The C major scale has one of every letter, and there are no sharps or flats. If I play those notes in order, the first mode is called Ionian, which is also known as the major scale. So if I play all naturals and start on C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, The first mode is called a major scale, or Ionian. Now, the second mode is called Dorian. That would be the exact same notes, but I would start on a D instead of starting on the root, the C. So if I play a C major scale but started on the second note, it's called the second mode, and that scale becomes a D Dorian scale. The third mode is called Phrygian. If I start on an E, which is the third note of the C scale, and play E to E, it becomes a Phrygian scale. And then the fourth mode is Lydian. The Lydian scale has that sharped 4 in it that we talked about earlier over major chords. Here's an F Lydian scale. The fifth mode is called Mixolydian. This is the one that goes with the dominant chords. Here's a G Mixolydian scale. Next we have Aeolian, which is the sixth mode of the major scale. Aeolian starts on A and ends on A, and it will have one of every letter just like the C scale. Here's the A Aeolian scale. This scale might sound familiar to some of you because it's also the exact same thing as what's called a natural minor scale. A natural minor is the same key signature as C major, and it is the sixth mode of the C major scale. Last but not least, we have a Locrian scale, which is the seventh mode, starting on B. We'll be using that scale in future episodes. Now let's take a moment to practice the 4 different types of scales that we talked about. The 2 major chord scales, which is Lydian and major, the dominant chord scale, which is Mixolydian, and the Dorian scale, which goes along with the minor chord. Let's start with C Lydian. When I practice all of these scales, I'll start with Lydian, and as I go down the chart, only one note will be altered. So if I start on the C Lydian scale, I start with a C major scale with a sharped 4. Now when I go to major, all I have to do is make the 4 natural, and now I have a major scale. Next is Mixolydian, so I'll flat the 7th. And then Dorian, flat the 3rd and 7th. So when playing them in this order, you only have to change one note at a time as you go down. Hopefully this was helpful to introduce you to some basic scales that you can use for improvisation. Take a moment to practice these in all the different keys.